In this episode of Two Tall Guys Talking Sales, Kevin Lawson and Sean O'Shaughnessey take on the sales metrics that actually matter to the person carrying the quota. They move past management dashboards and focus on the numbers that help salespeople protect their commission, forecast with more confidence, and avoid the painful revenue roller coaster. You'll hear how pipeline coverage, deal velocity, customer touches, and ABC deal planning can expose whether your current activity can truly support your number. Stay with us because this conversation will help you stop guessing, start managing your pipeline with intent, and build a sales plan that gives you a better shot at predictable sales success.
For most of you that know me, Kevin, I was probably born in a button-down blue shirt with my hair parted on one side. I'm a dork, and I'm just kind of leaning into that today. I want to talk about metrics, but before you hit pause or skip, wait. I want to talk about metrics that matter to salespeople. Not marketers, not sales managers, although useful, but I want to talk about the metrics that matter to us, the people out there carrying the bag. How are we going to make our quota? How do we know when we're doing well, or how do we know what part of our process needs some work? So I want to talk about things like pipeline coverage. I want to talk about how to forecast well for yourself. I want to talk about driving those incremental pieces of business that allow you to know that you're going to succeed. So to paint the picture, I'm working with some reps now, and I happen to be in a good spot where I'm working with a lot of good salespeople, and we're putting structure around them to give them repeatable sales processes. You've all heard me say, and Sean could quote me here, but I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say, go back and listen to a prior episode where I make my famous statement about having a sales process. Anyway, but I'm working with some great salespeople now, and they are really good at building pipeline. They're really good at closing deals, but they're not good at getting urgency between stages of the deal. So from discovery to scoping, from scoping to proposing or proof of concept, and those incremental steps are really important. But if you're good at hitting your quota and you're good at setting your quota, but you're not really good at determining really when you're going to hit your quota, that's an opportunity for improvement. That's a salesperson kind of metric. And it also allows us to talk about things like pipeline coverage. Because if you've got a really high volume or high velocity sale, it's going to move fast through your pipeline. You got to have a lot in your pipeline because a lot of that's going to go out fast. You're going to lose a lot fast. So you can go from very full to very empty very quickly. So you need to know the metrics that matter to you. Now, I'm going to roll that stone over one more time before I tag out and get Sean in the wrestling ring here. The other thing is knowing what part of the product mix that drives your sales. So when you're thinking about what do you sell in your pipeline coverage or in your closed won deals, what was that made up of? And that's really important to know. In this geographic market, I sell product A. In this geographic market, product A is not approved by code or by law or by something, right? But in market C, you may have a mix of A and B products together. So you need to know that customer A in market A cannot buy product B. And that needs to become part of your sales insight to know that, hey, if I've got $1 million quota and I close about 40%, I'm going to need somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 million flowing through my pipeline, somewhat, just ballpark. But if it's all weighted in product A, that means your territory segment B is actually going to struggle. You might be losing business in territory B. So I say all that because I'm talking to you sales people out there, the people that are carrying the quotas, the people that have got people asking them, what are you going to sell this month, week, quarter, day, year, and how are you going to plan to exceed plan or plan to make your plan? Sean, I've teed it up for you, the metrics that matter to PLUs, people like us, sellers. How are you?
I want to talk about the ability to not ride the roller coaster. And we've all seen that. So if you're a salesperson, you care about my monthly commission check, my weekly commission check, however you get paid from your company. So you get a percentage of how well you do and however that comes in for you, whether that's a bonus at the end of the year or if it's a monthly, quarterly commission check that you get to pay. The thing that sucks is when you are talking to your significant other and your family, and you're starting to talk about planning for the vacation, planning for the new car purchase, maybe a planning for the new house purchase or your first house purchase. Your ability to understand your cash flow is a big deal. And going up and down in your cash flow really hurts salespeople a lot. So this is something that's important to you. And it's not as important to sales managers because sales managers get around the roller coaster problem where revenue goes up, revenue goes down, revenue goes up, revenue goes down. So sales managers get around that problem by having lots of salespeople and they average it out between them all, right? They assume that revenue for every individual salesperson is going to go up and down, and they hope that they balance out and somebody's up while somebody else is down. But for you as a salesperson, it matters because it's all you got. You only got you to bring in that revenue. So one of the things that you need to always be thinking about is managing your day, using metrics to manage your day, your week, your month, and what are you doing? And are you doing enough today to work on the problem tomorrow? So Kevin was just talking about a fast sales cycle, right? So if you have a sales cycle, you get the deals done, let's just say you can get them done in 60 days. Then you need to always be thinking about in 60 days, I have nothing to sell because I'm going to sell out my pipeline in 60 days. So you're always having to feed that beast and making sure that beast is going. If you have a 6-month sales cycle, same problem, but you have more time to budget it out. You can go a week without prospecting, but you can't go a month without prospecting. If you got a 60-day sales cycle, you have only days that you can go without prospecting. You're always trying to feed the beast. I can't tell you how to answer the question for your business, but think about how much time do I have to spend prospecting versus doing discovery versus doing qualification versus doing scoping and closing. How much of time do I have to do? And make sure that you go into panic mode when you aren't doing enough because you're looking at the pipeline, you're going, I need to up my qualification, my discovery, my prospecting activity, or man, I got a lot of activity out there for that. I really need to make sure I'm closing my deals. So balancing your time, that's a salesperson metric. And there's ways you can do it by just looking at your pipeline and trying to balance it out. Kevin, I talked about roller coasters. I'm sure there's another analogy out there that you can come up with, but what else should they be talking about?
I'm not sure if it's what else, because I think the things that matter are probably industry by industry. Net new deals are being added. I really like for all sales teams to know how many deals need to come into their pipeline per time period. I like to look at teams weekly. I like to look at individuals monthly. And that will typically tell you if your pipeline is healthy on the top of the funnel. And I'm only looking at the number of created deals, not dollars. The dollars of pipeline coverage. Sean, you and I are consultants, and we can only serve so many customers at a time. If I'm putting 2 deals a month in, that's pretty good normally. But if I'm somebody who's selling recurring services like weekly services, or I'm selling landscaping services or HVAC, I need 10, 20 a week coming in minimum just to keep one crew busy. Right? Because I'm not going to win all of them. I'm going to get some attrition, and there's things are going to happen. So thinking about your volume, the metrics that matter to you as a salesperson really matter short-term and long-term. But let's think and spin that a little bit towards a different style of thinking. What if you're a mature company and you've been around and you have a market reputation, and let's say you've been in business for 7 years, 10 years, 20 years, doesn't really matter, something more than one, where you've got some past clients is really what I'm thinking about here. So you've got some past clients, maybe you've had some clients on your client roster for a long time, but maybe you're not as in touch with them as you should be. So the metrics that matter to you as a salesperson in that, or through that lens, is really important, is how often you're touching them. And a touch can be, hey, I found this article and was thinking specifically about you, something we talked about a while. Is that still going on? Have you solved that? How's it going? Something that sparks the conversation and keeps the connective tissue and muscles strong. relationship strong. It's kind of like me. For those of you listening, I like to run long distances. That's a fun thing for me. But in the winter months, I do not like to run because running is cold. So I don't do it. When I get out of practice for 3 or 4 months, I can't run as far. I can't run as hard. I can't run as fast. All the things that I used to do in the fun months, the spring, summer, fall months, I can't do after the winter and the early spring because I've lost that traction. Same thing. It's the roller coaster. It's a relationship roller coaster. You're working with somebody. Oh, you're talking every day, every week, every period of time. But then you trail off and lose traction with them. And if you're reading EOS, if you're working with Sean or on sales infrastructure, we talk about that a lot. We use the word traction a lot, not because it's Gino Wickman's book, because traction is a very understandable, digestible term. Sean has a methodology that I really like. I'm just not disciplined enough to do it, but where he reaches out every 60 to 90 days to all of his core contacts. And I think that's a wonderful best practice that I can take away from just being around Sean, that if I will touch the people that are in my sphere of influence, and when I say touch, I mean call them, email them, text them, coffee, lunch, and intentionally go to meet them at a networking event where you both can catch up there and others. These are the kinds of touches we're talking about. Being intentional with the relationship is as important. So if you're measuring how often have I connected with, if you don't like the word touch, connected with my top 60 people that can introduce me to deals, my top 30 customers and past customers, all the tops, right? You create your list of people you want to reach out to, and then it becomes a discipline. And as a salesperson, if you're bringing deals from your base, from your outreach, your personal outreach, and you're maybe getting some from your company, that 30, 30, 30 kind of model, or some sort of percentage breakup of those 3 types of funnels, you should have a pretty robust pipeline. So if your pipeline doesn't have the right coverage, meaning total amount needed times the close rate to get to your close rate, or you've got product segmentation or market segmentation for different products that doesn't add up, you probably have a deficiency in your outreach. So with that, I want you all as sellers to know that we've been there. We've had this luxury and we've had this problem because of the roller coaster Sean talked about. And the other dirty little secret here is that when you get busy with client work or with volume or your busy season, these are the things that go away. So it's not surprising that you have a busy season because you get really busy and you forget to do this stuff. It's simple, but required. And then you have a low season. Again, insert roller coaster analogy.
I'm going to take it a step higher too. If I think about when you have a quota, so I assume your boss, your company has given you an expectation of revenue that you have to come in with. First of all, I would say you should do higher than that, right? So I tell everybody, start the year assuming you're going to go to 110%. Build your plan to go to 110%. But then when you take a look at that 110%, I don't care if your quota is $1 million or $10 million, but 110% should be how you start the year out. But then think about, how do I break that up by size of deals? So I like to think about A size deals, B size deals, and C size deals. A being the biggest, B is your average deal, and C is your got them quick, moved them through the process, maybe add-ons to existing customers, or maybe a starting package. But how many A, B, and C size deals do you need to do to get to 110% of your year? So think about what that number should be for you, and then plan that out on your activity. Are you going after enough A's? And good thought process is an A is 4 or 5 times bigger than a B, and a B is 4 or 5 times bigger than a C, right? So if you think about it in that kind of construct, if you possibly could. So you need to get some A deals done because logistically, they're probably that much harder to do than the B deals. Maybe they're a little bit harder, but they're not 4 times harder. So you get a few A deals done, man, that makes a big difference in your annual number. And then you have your B deals. How many of those do you have to do? And how many C deals should you be working on, especially if they're starter deals or they're add-on deals? How many of those deals should you be working on as well? So think about your plan and make that all happen. And if you want some feedback on, does that work for you? Is that working right? Join the B2B Sales Lab. We talk about the B2B Sales Lab a lot on our program because Kevin and I started it so that salespeople could get feedback and get help and ask questions of other salespeople. So join the B2B Sales Lab. The URL is in our show notes, but it's really easy. It's b2b-sales-lab.com. You got a free trial. If you don't like it, walk away. It's all good. But join it, figure out if you like it, figure out if it helps you, and we'll see you either on the lab or listening to our podcast next Tuesday at 4:30. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
That was a sharp episode, and not just because Kevin somehow made sales metrics sound less like homework and more like survival math. One of the best takeaways was the discussion about avoiding the sales commission roller coaster. Sean made a critical point. Sales managers can average performance across a team, but an individual salesperson cannot average away their own weak pipeline. If your revenue comes in waves, your personal cash flow, confidence, and decision-making all take the hit. That is why salespeople need to understand the relationship between sales cycle length, pipeline coverage, deal movement, and the daily activity required to keep future revenue from disappearing. The significant actionable item from this episode is simple, but it demands discipline. Build your personal pipeline math model today. Start with your quota. Plan to 110%, break that number into A, B, and C size deals, and then work backward into how many opportunities you need to create and advance each month. Do it today, before the rush of daily business pulls you back into reacting instead of managing your sales plan. If you need help with sales, sales management, or simply growing your company, reach out to Sean or Kevin using the contact information in the show notes. You can also join the B2B Sales Lab, a community of salespeople and sales leaders helping each other answer real sales questions, find useful resources, and improve their odds of making quota. The link to the B2B Sales Lab is in the show notes. Make sure you subscribe to Two Tall Guys Talking Sales on your favorite podcast player so you do not miss the next conversation when Sean and Kevin are back with you next Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Happy selling!